Take it, that's not an atomic clock.
What does that mean?
That it's tied in with the universal transmitters. Cause it's not on time.
It's
It's a tiny bit slow.
second slow.
Yeah, it's
Mary will speak to it.
half a minute or
Oh, it's fast.
45 seconds slow.
Mine says 6:58 on my cell phone,
Yeah.
It's the seconds that are off.
just a tad.
Well, it's now coming up 6:59. 4, 3, 2, 1,
Yep.
mark.
You're right. It is.
Best I can do.
Oh, Mary will notice too. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay.
Not only will she notice, June was nice enough to get a big enough one so she can actually see the time.
Yeah, that's a great clock.
Yes.
It wasn't, that was not the only time it was mentioned, so you're probably smart to do it. Yeah.
I would put that in my classroom with students, I'm looking at it all the time.
We felt your pain.
January 22nd, 2026, 7 o'clock. This session of the Bandon Planning Commission is in session. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Friedland,
Here.
Vice Chair Jakowski,
Here.
Chair Starbuck,
Here.
Commissioner Pressler,
Here.
Commissioner Orsi,
Here.
Commissioner Frey.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we have the consent agenda. Is there any comments on the consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Make sure you're talking into the mic, please.
Okay. I would like to have the following at the proper place in the minutes of our planning commission meeting to update the record so that it is compatible with my unchallenged subsequent participation in the deliberations of 11 December 2025. This would correct my misspeaking. So the section of the minutes is as follows. Starbuck asked Commissioner Friedland whether he felt his effectiveness in this hearing had been compromised. Friedland responded, "Yes, sir." After the meeting, Commissioner Friedland has stated that his intended answer was "No, sir," but that during the meeting he misspoke.
All right. Any other corrections or comments? May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as amended.
Is your mic on?
Yes, I think so, isn't it?
Motion made,
Second.
seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, moving on. This is a time for public comment. Comments from the public on any item not on the agenda, limited to 5 minutes each. To comment, a person, please sign in and return the form to the clerk. If participating via Zoom, raise your hand at the beginning of the public comment period. Public comments and information provided during the meeting will be collected and retained by the city as a public record in accordance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Public Records Policy 192.005 to 192.170 and 357.805 to 357.895, with some exceptions. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we move on. We have a public hearing on the agenda for, this is a continuation of a public hearing for ordinance 1675, goal 18, beaches and dunes compliance comprehensive plan update, BMC Title 17 amendment and map adoption. I hereby open the public hearing at 7:04 p.m. This is the official public hearing before the Planning Commission of the City of Bandon on the motion to amend the text of the Bandon Municipal Code sections 17.77 and 17.78. This zoning text amendment is initiated by the Planning Commission to update the municipal code for contingencies for consistency with the statewide planning code goal 18, beaches and dunes, dune classification inventory data, and Oregon building code requirements related to development on less than stable soils. Paragraph 17.116.010 authorization to initiate amendments states an amendment to the text of the zone or the zoning map of this title or the comprehensive plan may be initiated by the city council, by the planning commission, or by the property owner or his or her authorized agent. The planning commission shall hold a hearing and make recommendation to the city council to approve with conditions, or deny the proposed amendment. The city council may hold a public hearing which will occur in accordance with section 17.120.080. Amendments shall be adopted by ordinance. This is a public hearing on a legislative matter and will not be conducted in accordance. Hang on a second. With section 17.120.080, the Planning Commission will take testimony, close the hearing, and deliberate. The Commission may decide to recommend the proposed text change as written, recommend the proposed text change with amendments, determine that no recommendations can be made at this time, or continue the hearing to a date certain for additional testimony. Planning Commission is a recommending body for this legislative process, not a decision-making body as in quasi-judicial processes. In the quasi-judicial process, ex parte contact must be declared. In a legislative matter, it does not. Therefore, we will not be asking commissioners to declare ex parte contact. Copy of the minutes for this hearing will be available in the city offices. A copy of the rules and procedures I am reading will be available in the city offices as part of this file. Presentation by staff.
Good evening, Chair Starbuck, Commissioners. Brief presentation for you following up on the hearing as continued from November 20th, 2025. As Chair Starbuck mentioned, this is a type 4 procedure compliant with BMC 1604-080. Planning Commission is the recommending body to City Council. As such, the staff recommendation before you is to review and consider the record and and recommend Council adopt all proposed amendments to BMC chapters 1777 Beaches and Dunes and 1778 Hazard Overlay Zone as submitted by reference, and adopt the Beaches and Dunes update into the Bandon Municipal Code. As a reminder, the procedural history on this case was a continued hearing to a date certain time of this evening. During that Planning Commission meeting of November 20th, the staff report was presented. We received public comment, and one of which requested a continuance, which was granted. In addition, Planning Commission directed staff to consider public comments and formulate recommended revisions. What I'd like to do is refer you to the staff report, particularly attachment 1, which is Ordinance 1675. There are changes in that document. The summary of those changes is is what I'll be spending a few minutes going over. Specifically, the substantive changes. There were other non-substantive clerical changes made. I'm not going to waste time on those. They are noted, however, with underline and strike through as is necessary. One thing I do want to point out is that the Oregon Shore Surfrider Foundation had the most significant of those comments. It's worth considering that as we move into it, and I'll highlight those. Sherry McGrath also had some good comments, and I've made some changes, and Oregon Parks and Recreation District did as well. I'll touch on those. Starting with section 1778.020 applicability, relatively minor change, but significant nonetheless. Item 3 of that subsection referenced all lands within or abutting the beaches and dunes overlay zone as described in table 1 and mapped by reference to the Dugami data. I struck or abutting. It seemed to be by implication bringing legislative matters to, or rather legislative regulations to a property that was not designated by beaches and dunes. So remove that. Sorry, touchy mouse this evening. The second is 1778 beaches and dunes, type 1 permit process requirements for beachfront protective structures. This was exempt in the previous version of this, and this was a comment made by the Surfrider Foundation to subject these protective structures to review. Staff folded this into a type 1 process, which is administrative with no opportunity for appeal and no public notice, period. This evening, I'd like to seek your direction specifically on this. Would you rather subject beachfront protective structures to a type 2 procedure, which would require public notice and grounds for appeal? So that's the first request on the record for you this evening. And we can discuss that in deliberation, and I can certainly respond to inquiry or questions as you may have. So this is a continuation of the data or the requirements for that type 1 permit. So this is new information added at the recommendation of Surfrider Foundation and has a great deal of requirements for beachfront protective structures as enumerated here. This item 1778.030 beaches and dunes, this was the exemption. So this was originally in a type 2 permit as exempt from a type 2 permit. So this is moved from an exemption in your original ordinance to requiring a type 1 permit or a type 2 if you so choose. 1778.070 talks in specific to the whole requirement for a hazard disclosure statement. Originally, that hazard disclosure statement was required to be submitted along with a geologic assessment review as a part of a complete application to be reviewed at an administrative level. This additional requirement further specifies that that hazard disclosure statement shall be recorded with a deed for the property. I'm going to stop there and ask if you've got questions for me. The following presentation goes into greater detail, which is a replication of the presentation that staff gave you on November 20th. I'm certainly prepared to go into that level of detail should you require it for context. But right now, I'd like to open it up for questions of staff.
On both 17.78.0.
Yeah, particularly the changes that I just discussed. And obviously focusing on the type 1 or 2 requirement for beachfront.
What would there be some unintended consequences if we do not have it as a type 2? I mean, type 1 versus type 2 for the first structure thing.
I will say that the type 1 versus 2 under our current hazard overlay zone is silent on the matter. It doesn't ascribe one particular review process or another. So by implication, it would be a staff level review. I will say though that definitionally elsewhere in the municipal code, what's called other development, which includes grading, drilling, and excavation and development of that nature, is assigned a more discretionary process. So a conditional use permit, for example, for some of those. So assigning a type 2 procedure would be more consistent with standard practice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree that I think we should use a type 2 process. I like to always see it for substantial issues that there is some sort of an appeal process. So I would recommend a type 2 for appeal allowed for the beachfront protective structures.
So if commission agrees, we would need a motion when the time comes to amend the ordinance, the recommended ordinance moving forward to include that.
I have a question on the hazard disclosure statement for staff. It's to be recorded with deed. Is that only for new development, or is that also for existing property sales?
Well, moving forward, this application, so first of all, this code obviously applies to development that's submitted at the time this is in effect. So when this goes into effect, anything that's defined as new development or substantial improvements that are subject to a GAR, that's a pretty broad net. It would include, new construction of residential or non-residential development, for example. It would include any surface disturbance that's further defined in this ordinance and elsewhere in the municipal code. So it does capture a fair amount of, physical interventions in this type of within the beaches and dunes overlay.
But not sale of existing property?
No, it would travel with the deed, so that information would be, evident to anyone conducting a title search. That's the intent here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that last statement. So if I were to buy an existing home in this zone, and not make any substantial improvements, basically there'd be no hazard disclosure statement requirement?
No, not unless it's triggered by that definitional standard for, qualifying improvements.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if I play that out, I'm not sure we would, I guess by implication, staff would notify all existing development that is within the beaches and dunes overlay and subject to these restrictions moving forward. We've done that with this Measure 56 notice, but that certainly isn't recorded with a deed. So it's existing out there. These regulations are in a sense floating over property that would transact, change title, and there would be no noticing as a requirement of that unless there were development.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna have to just ask a very basic question because I'm not real clear what properties are affected by this.
So that's a good cue for me to jump forward to rewind tape just a bit to the previous presentation. I'll drill into this for you. So this slide summarizes the scope of this amendment. So it does a lot. It gets rid of beaches and dunes in 77. It folds it into 78, which is our HOZ zone. Talks about these suitability categories for development, establishes permit review protocol for each of those suitability categories, exempts certain things, certain minor activities, requires a lot more in the way of technical reports to accompany all sorts of development moving forward, And of course, it does the amendment of comp plan and municipal code. In effect, it really is a subcategorization of new findings, of new technical analysis that has produced landform classifications that are a finer grained level of detail than we currently have, which was from 1975. So in effect, if you look at the italicized note at the top of this slide, it says the extent of beaches and dunes overlay has not changed. Landform classifications have been updated. So by this legislation, you're not increasing or increasing a legislative or reducing development opportunity on given properties. You're just reinforcing it with greater level of detail and subcategories around process review and technical requirements for those properties that currently are subject to beaches and dunes overlay. So goal 18. Specifically, I'm going to jump forward here a little bit. This is a screen grab from the Coos County Dogami layer. So this is what you would go to as an interface. You'd see this screen, you'd pick a parcel and you'd drill into it. What I've done is pull up the South Jetty area here, overlaid the 1977 beaches and dunes overlay line, and then added to it the new data, which is the colored zones underneath. Further added then properties that are subject to these new overlay. There are 9 developed sites and 4 vacant sites. And you can see that they are all currently subject to the same regulations that are in effect for beaches and dunes. So of those 4 development sites, they would still be allowed to develop. They just simply would be required to go through more geotechnical analysis and get a beaches and dunes a dune development permit as well as a geologic assessment review, subject to a type 1, 2, or 3 process as specified in the table. I will say, though, that there are 4 parcels that are exempt from Goal 18. That is a consequence of analysis done back in 2011, I believe, and I've got more data here if you want to go there, related to irrevocably committed lands to development. There were 4 parcels that were paid sewer assessment fees and for that reason were granted development rights that predated this analysis. So they are exempt from this beaches and dunes overlay zone. You'll see likely at least one of those sites come forward as some form of discretionary review related to access. We have received some speculation early, so you'll see that coming forward. And they will be subject to some of these standards related to the public right-of-way improvements. So in effect, a longer answer to your question, Commissioner Pressler, the net effect ultimately is negligible in the sense that it's not either mandating or eliminating development rights, but what it is doing is requiring more technical analysis for those existing rights.
So I guess I was confused because one of the categories is, so it's these codes on here that you're in your table that it will apply to, correct? This B, FDA, FDDS, ODS, OS.
Correct.
I guess why I was confused is because ODS in the 1975 map, that included coastal terrace, which seems to be most abandoned, but that's no longer under the new overlay. That is not included, correct? The coastal terrace?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Development rights are unchanged. Again, just subcategorization within the broader landform classifications, new terminology, replacing old terminology, and along with it comes review process and technical requirements.
I was just trying to
Yeah.
understand I understand it doesn't change much. I was just trying to understand where this applies.
Got it. Thank you. Hope that helps.
Any more questions? All right. Would you continue?
Yeah, so what I want to do is, unless you do have technical questions, we can go through some of these. I will say that as summarized in the staff report, all findings have been met for legislative action, including consistency with statewide goals, the Bannon Comprehensive Plan, clear and objective housing standards, obviously, as we move forward with ORS 197A, requiring clear and objective non-discretionary review process for all housing. So that's, you'll see more of that, particularly in areas, you will only see those review process or review cases when public rights of way or land division is part of the process. So please keep that in mind. This will also trigger technical analysis as a part of that clear and objective process. So that's a nuance that is going to be an additional review challenge, I'll be quite honest, at a staff level for us to be reviewing very technical information as it's submitted for geologic assessment review and dune area development permits. So more heavy lifting at a staff level and public process only, as I said, for when rights of way are involved or land division.
May I ask a question? If it's, if the technical is heavy lifting, is it because you might benefit from like a consultant to help with that aspect or?
Yeah, I mean, we will assign a technical review, third-party technical review as necessary
Okay.
to understand, but again, this staff member is not a qualified geotechnical engineer. We will retain those as necessary, so
That makes sense.
it adds time and cost to development.
That makes sense
Yeah.
too. But
And then finally, I'll conclude with options for your action this evening. I have a motion queued up for you for approval. One for approval with modifications, a denial, and a continuance. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Starbuck.
Okay. Any public testimony? At this time, those of you who wish to testify on this matter, please sign in. Testimony will be taken in the order signed. This hearing is orderly, will be orderly and courteous. When it becomes your turn to testify, your name will be called. When your name is called, please restate your name and address and speak distinctly for the recorder. Testimony will be limited to 5 minutes per person. It is recommended that all testimony be submitted in writing. Failure to raise or clarify a specific issue sufficient enough to afford this decision-making body and the parties involved an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal based on that issue. Any public comment? None? All right, we'll move on. We can go into deliberation. We're still in a public hearing. We can still go into deliberation. All right. One question. So with this 030, we're talking about paragraph or subparagraph D. And if we make it a type 2, it'll be moved into paragraph 4.
Yes. It's in 3 activities requiring a type 1 permit. If you direct staff to do so, we would move it to section 3, subsection 3, requiring type 2 permits. Yeah.
Okay. Which is paragraph 4. All right. Deliberation comments?
I have a question for staff, please. That the phrase visual impacts are minimized, that's a state standard, is that correct? A state requirement? In other words, it's not we've spent a lot of time trying to be clear and objective, and that to me is not a very clear and objective statement. So, but somewhere I read that that is what the state has mandated. Is that correct?
Well, keep in mind that these requirements are for beachfront protective structures only. The clear and objective standard applies to housing only, which would not be subject to a type 2 review process. They are subject to type 1 process for all housing in these zones, in these landform areas.
Like, I still come back to my statement that how is visual impacts are minimized, clear and objective?
Well, they aren't required to be clear and objective by state standard. They are subjective by definition, by design, so that through a discretionary process, you can arrive, the decision-making authority can arrive at something that meets their standard of visual impact, or a minimization of visual impact in a discretionary review process.
How is this how would this be different from the whole issue of view lines?
Well, view lines applies in a residential context.
Correct, okay. Mhm.
And so therefore, the reason there's a conflict there is because it's not clear and objective. This visual impact analysis is only pertinent for beachfront protective structures. It's not, housing is exempt from this requirement.
Commissioner Starbuck, we have Rihanna from DLCD up there, and she's raising her hand that she could
Yes,
possibly answer
she'd be
this
great.
question.
Yeah, she'd be great to help
Yeah.
with this.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rhiannon Bazor. I'm the Coastal Shore Specialist with DLCD. And I just wanted to chime in on this. So implementation requirement in Goal 18, which covers beaches and dunes, does say that the criteria for review of all shore and beachfront protective structures shall provide that visual impacts are minimized. So you are correct. This is from a state standard.
Thank you.
May I ask a question about how many, do we have any of these beachfront protective structures currently?
I don't think so, but again, a lot of these, well, let me rephrase. I would suspect that what qualifies as a beachfront protective structure is currently in place on the South Jetty in the form of riprap, boulders, and
Lot.
vegetation, and by the parking lot there. So, yeah, I would say maybe that qualifies by these standards here under D.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. It's just that I wasn't sure how many times we've had that impact like actual housing
Yeah.
areas.
I guess, this is a question back to Rhiannon as well for consideration here is, though the visual impact minimization standard is a state standard, in and of itself, there's no further specific criteria or standards by which one measures or qualifies what is a minimal visual impact, correct?
Correct. In the permitting process through OPRD as well, if it is on the ocean shore, that is also part of their criteria that they consider. And so will be the beachfront protective structure that will be permitted will be the one that is the least impactful to the ocean shore. And so that includes the visual minimization of the visual impacts.
Which is intentionally discretionary, left up to the local decision-making process, right?
Yes, correct. And it does depend on what the type of project need is, what type of structure is placed, whether it's a seawall or riprap or a more non-structural solution. And so it is a bit subjective to each property's needs.
Thank you.
Of course.
So you can tell there's a lot of discretion embedded in this one. So that's kind of where I was headed, was it feels to me more like it ought to be a type 2 procedure as opposed to a type 1. So staff, if we could rephrase our recommendation, we would move forward with this, recommend you move forward with this type 2
Sure.
review.
Sense.
Yeah, I'll make a motion if it's appropriate this time to move 17.78.
Are we through with deliberation?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't know if the motion was part of the overall or separate, but I would make a motion that the 17.78.030 activities requiring be changed to a type 2 permit.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded to approve the amendment with any changes. Is that correct?
That is
What, my motion was just for the 17.78.030 change to a type 2 permit.
All right. We have that motion to change it to a type 2. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mhm. Commissioner Freeland,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jakowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Pressler,
Yes.
Commissioner Orsi,
Yes.
Commissioner Frey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passed. Now we can go on with the actual amendment itself. Is that correct?
Yep.
So we need a motion on the amendment itself.
Did you have another part that, can I ask? I believe that, didn't you have another thing that you were saying we might want to change, or you were?
Let me go back through the key comments. I don't believe so. That was, the rest of the changes are already in the packet, so
Okay.
you're good to go unless you want to formulate some other recommendations.
Maybe it was the hazard
Do we need?
disclosure statement and tying it to the deed. Was that something that was?
Yeah, I think that as it stands, I hope that I resolved Commissioner Frey's questions sufficiently, but I didn't hear that he had a recommendation in mind to change what's proposed.
Correct. No recommendation on
Okay.
hazard disclosure statement.
Got it.
Thank you.
Wanted to make sure. Covered all
Thank
the
you.
bases.
All right,
Chair Starbuck, did we close the hearing before we do the voting?
all right. At 7:35, this hearing is closed.
Do we have
Yeah.
to go back and vote?
Hmm?
Do we have to go back and vote?
I thought you
No,
closed it.
didn't.
We're into deliberations.
Was never announced as a closed hearing, closing, yeah.
Okay.
Will we go into deliberation?
You can if you choose to, or you can do your motion.
You can, yeah, it sounds, I feel like your deliberation is concluded and you're ready for a
Yeah.
motion unless anyone else has anything to
Right.
deliberate.
Right.
Let's move on to the motion then on this amendment.
So I can just read I move that the planning commission recommend the city council approve the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan and municipal code with modifications, which we have already discussed by having that type 2 decision. The 17 point. Yeah, I'm sorry. The 17.78.030. And then, find it consistent with the statewide planning goals and supported by the findings in the staff report and the record of the hearing.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve with modifications. Roll call, please.
Sorry. Commissioner Orsi,
Yes.
Commissioner Pressler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jakowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland,
Yes.
Commissioner Frey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passed. All right, we move on to the next portion of the agenda. New and old business.
Nope.
Community Development Director comments?
Yeah, I do have a few. As you know by now, Commissioner Norman resigned his position, so we have an open position. So please spread the word. We are recruiting. The availability is posted on our website. And procedure for that would be to submit applications for interested members to the city clerk. So hopefully we can get some interest in that, filling that chair again. We will have some staff changes of note. Unfortunately, our dear Shannon is leaving us to follow her husband to the through the rigor of military assignment. So we don't know where exactly she'll end up someday, but hopefully she'll come back here and continue to serve the community. She's been a great addition. We've loved having her. We also are going to be losing funding for Jason Kroll, our Gorse enforcement officer, who's also serving as interim code enforcement officer, as Richard Taylor, our previous code enforcement officer, retired. So we're also exploring options to fill those positions through county staff assignment. They're currently doing our code or our plans review and building permit review and building code related inspections on site here in town. So it makes a lot of sense to also assign them for some compensation the roles and responsibilities of enforcing the building code post development. So hopefully those conversations get a body in the code enforcement chair here locally sooner than later. I will also say that we will be enforcing the radius maps for your residences to conflict you from participating in quasi-judicial cases moving forward. I know that's been enforced in the past, but I just wanted to remind you all that if you reside within the public notice area for a given quasi-judicial case, that you are to recuse yourself by our code. So we have radius maps for you all, and we are watching. So other than that, got nothing for you. Back to you, Chair Starbuck.
Commissioner comments. Mr. Fay, you always have a comment.
I do. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. A question for staff real quick. Did you say that Jason is leaving as the Gorse abatement officer? Or is he just not funded to provide assistance to the community development department?
We're losing his funding at the end of March. So we're exploring options to retain that service. And as a consequence of the council item on February 2nd, where council is being asked to provide direction to staff on whether Gorse enforcement should be voluntary or mandatory, because the code is a little unclear on the matter. We will so inform that recruitment.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck to Shannon. Thank you very much for all your assistance over the months, and good luck to you and your husband. I think he's a coastie, if I'm not mistaken. So good luck with the deployment wherever you two may head up or end up, I should say. Thank you for the everyone's assistance over the months. And I like the way, I appreciate the way that the staff has presented responses to comments embedded in the actual comments. I think that's a nice addition. So thank you for that. Good luck to Gordon Norman. I'll miss his comments and opinions and insights. He's provided, I think, was with the Planning Commission over 5 years. So sorry to see him go and wish him the best. And the only other thing I would say for everyone that is of Scottish ancestry or would like to be of Scottish ancestry, happy Burton's night this coming, I think it's Sunday. Thank you.
All right, any other comments?
I also want to wish Shannon well with you.
Yeah, I finally got your name right and you're leaving.
Well, maybe it's good you didn't get her name right sooner. She might have left sooner.
No, well, it's not fair.
North Carolina.
North
switching coasts, going to North Carolina.
What city in North Carolina?
Like,
Fort Bragg.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
Jacksonville, right?
yes. Mhm.
Anything else? All right. Meeting's adjourned at 7:44.
Wow.
Thank you all.
Get out of here fast.